We have up until this point, we've created a dictionary and we've talked about how to create that. And we need to remind ourselves why we're doing this, because we're writing this exercise where we're going to be going through all the characters in a string, and we need to look up, is this character in this lookup table? The lookup table is only going to have the numbers 0 through 9. So only those characters will be found, and anything else will not. So let's talk about how we access values in a dictionary. And we saw before that we can say answers, name, and it gives us Sir Lancelot. And if we say, for instance, name with an uppercase, that's going to create a problem because there's not a key with an uppercase in name. So it's unsafe to use this way of accessing for a key, because this creates an exception. Right here, the exception here is a key error. And we want to avoid exceptions. They make our programs crash, which makes them very, very slow. So how do we find out if a given key is in the answers? So we've already seen this method with in the crow's nest. When we were looking at a given character, we wanted to know, is this a vowel? And we said, if char in A-E-I-O-U, and we gave that as a string. Like we can say A in A-E-I-O-U, and the answer is true. And B is not in A-E-I-O-U. We also did the same thing with lists. We saw that we can do thing in some list. That's possible. And so here we're going to say, like, for instance, name in answers, and it's false because it's an uppercase N. If we change that to lowercase n, then it's true. The key name does occur in answers. So we can use that, and we've seen how to use that kind of a thing. Like we could say, if thing in list, then do this thing, get that thing. We saw in the list chapter that we, for instance, we said the index for chips in our items, and that works as long as chips is actually in our items. But it blows up, it creates an exception if it's not. Well, I'm going to show you a safer way using the get method of a dictionary, and we can say help dict get. And so here I'm showing you that in the help, we can specifically get the documentation on a specific function. We don't have to look at all of the help for dictionary. So if I say that, it says return the value for a key if the key is in the dictionary, else the default. So the way this works is we call get. Don't worry about self, that's the dictionary itself. We're going to pass it a key, and we can pass it optionally a default value. The default is none. So how does that work? I can say answers.get, and I can say name, and it will return Lancelot because that is a key in the dictionary. And if I say capital N, it won't return anything. It's very difficult to see what we've got. So I can use type on that, and I see what I got back is the none type. So for instance, there is no age column in our answers. I could default to NA for not available. And since age doesn't exist as a key, then I will get back NA as the optional, as the alternate. So we're going to use this. This is probably the best way for us to look up the values for each character in the string, and I'll show you how we're going to use that.